Hey Roy, how are you?
Great, Tom. How are you?
Good to see you as always. Well, are you ready to answer some questions? I
I
picked
am ready.
Okay, so I've got a few questions for you. These are questions that, we've obviously talked about. You'll see, throughout the year, we've talked about with clients, but we just kind of want to share and, I think that they might be, interesting to some other folks in the MA industry, what our thoughts are. So
Okay.
first question, broadly, what stuck out to you this plan year? And as we get into 26 plan year and start discussions, what's a key takeaway that we could take from into next?
You know how I'm sort of a, one note these days, which is new to Medicare, age in, T65, whatever you want to call it. It's still so important.
Mm-hmm.
You get those programs in place and you get as many of those people as you can. There's always a big focus on AEP, but the people turning 65 or aging in, still that's the battleground. If you get those people, then you've got them for the duration.
Right. I mean, there's a finite number of these folks, and it's like
It's a small number, and during AEP, there's so much noise,
right, right.
both from all the competitors, but also just everything else that's going on. If it's a
Yeah,
political
cut
year,
to the clutter when you can, and it's not a waste to spend then.
right, right.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely couldn't agree more. So next question, we're kind of like living in this world now where we think everything can be digital and we're conditioned to, well, I get on the phone and I can just, do this on an app or whatever. But why do you think it's still so important for, people to be able to call in to a broker? And why is that so favorable to people?
Because the, we want digital to be a beautiful, efficient thing,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
but MA and aging in and all of that, it's complicated. There's lots
Mm-hmm,
of questions. Is my doctor in the network? Are my meds covered? Are this covered? What
mm-hmm.
are my options? Because depending on where you're located, you may have half a dozen or more plans to choose from, and it's confusing even for people who are familiar with it. It's hard to
Yeah.
sort through. So speaking to a broker
Mm-hmm.
helps them determine it, and because of the various CMS rulings, and regulations, the person has to call you the broker,
Right.
unless there's a pre-existing relationship. So you've got a very interested person on the other end when they call in, and using new to Medicare marketing or age in just improves that potential for you to convert that person.
Right. So now, yes. So speaking about brokers being important, I would say, wouldn't you say that direct mail, obviously, they kind of go hand in hand. They're great
Correct.
dance partners
Right.
there. I mean,
We
so,
all think that the mailbox is jammed full, but the reality is, if you're in the market,
mhm,
you'll sort through that. And the direct mail gives something someone can put on their desk, the kitchen table, and say, okay,
mhm.
this is what I want to review. And then they choose when to call. So that's why it's so important for so many people in the broker community and the brand community to keep their direct mail programs. And then when
Right.
you combine it with CTV now that we can do, and with just general awareness and advertising, it makes everything just work better for
Right.
everybody.
Right. I mean, we know across the board, folks that call in into a broker, I mean, the conversion rate is, I mean, that's the highest conversion rate.
Right.
And we also know that, people will come in and talk face to face with the broker, and they'll be carrying their piece of direct mail with them. So it's like,
Right. Right.
yeah, good company. And it's also, I think that kind of trust factor, that validity trust factor too. It just
Right.
gives that extra. Yeah, for sure. So,
After the last couple of years where there were there was a lot of confusion,
mhm,
certain television promotions and other things like that. So a broker branded or a consumer or the provider branded
mhm.
direct mail is just it's credibility.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it may be pricey, but
It's pricey, but worth it.
Yeah. So for those, we know that this is a huge industry, a lot of big players, but for those smaller or maybe new MA providers or ones with few members that are growing, what advice do you give? What's important for them to do that they might otherwise think, oh, I don't know if I want to spend. What are your recommendations for those companies?
You need to know what the lifetime value
Hmm.
of your member client is,
Right. That,
and,
yeah.
and you can determine that.
Yeah.
It's not an unknown, right? And then you need to spend accordingly. And
Right.
some people, like the new to Medicare people, are going to be worth more because they're going to stay with you more, and
Right.
that makes it easier down the road that you're not having to convert them, or they're just there, and you can continue to build on that. So I
Right.
think knowing the value
Yeah.
of what that is, and as we often will do, we'll help people determine that. It drives where they spend the money and how they
Well,
create.
what it does, and you're right. I mean, it's like it makes it less scary, right? So you're
Right,
like, I
right,
have this much money to spend. I'm small, but if I know the lifetime value, maybe it takes some upfront cost, but it's like now I know it's worth it. It's worth it to, this is
right,
how much we're going to make if we convert these many people.
right. No, it's
It's
very
just
important.
well, yeah. I mean, those were my three questions that I had for you, and
Like it.
I'm always happy to see you, and thanks.
Short and sweet. Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.